Hello, and welcome to the Overcoming Challenges in the Four Phases of Life interview series. I'm Chris Powell. Thank you once again for joining us today for our broadcast. Today we are honored to speak with Lynnette Khalfani Cox. Lynnette Khalfani Cox is a personal finance expert, TV, radio, media contributor, and speaker. She is also the author of 15 personal finance books, including the New York Times bestseller Zero Debt, the ultimate guide to financial freedom. We have a great conversation about beginning her challenges and advice to others regarding overcoming debt and obtaining greater financial independence. We hope you enjoy the broadcast. Hello, Nanette. How about you?
Hi there, Chris. I'm doing great and I'm honored to be on the show. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, you are such an inspiration. All the work that you have done, um, helping folks with their finances, and you've been an inspiration to me. And your books and just your spirit overall is just incredible. So we're just so excited to have it on the Overcoming Challenges show today.
Thank you. I have, had my share of challenges, so I figured this was the perfect platform for me to talk to and to share with your audience. So it's
Oh,
wonderful again to join you.
thank you. I know I'm so honored. But Lynette, you are the author of 15 books, which includes the New York Times best-selling book, Zero Debt: The Ultimate Guide to Financial Freedom. How and why did you become interested in finances, and how has this influenced your life?
Well, I guess I could say that I got interested in finances from a professional standpoint after my job as a journalist, because I started working at Dow Jones, which was the parent company of the Wall Street Journal. And I started learning about finances because I had to write about it all the time. I was covering Wall Street and I was writing about the brokerage industry. So I had to interview stockbrokers and traders and certified financial planners and money managers. So I started learning a lot about money issues. And then I was like, oh, this is not rocket science, I was like, I think I can do some of this stuff too. Um, Even though I was kind of a mess financially, I had not gotten my act together at all. So part of what influenced me was learning about money matters through other experts and being a journalist and explaining it to other folks. And then when I went from the print side to the TV side, I went from being a Dow Jones reporter to being a Wall Street Journal reporter for CNBC. Then I started really saying, okay, it's time to clean up your act here, Lynnette. It's time to get your own finances together. And then, right after, or really when I was in the middle of reporting at CNBC is when I started paying off my debt and started, doing some smart money moves of my own.
Yeah, because you had an incredible, situation. You were over $100,000 in debt. Yet you overcame this, and we spoke,
Yes.
a while back, and just the calmness that you saw. I realized that I had a little problem that I just had to kind of chip away. But how 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 did you overcome this, and what advice could you share with others to kind of help them if they're in this kind of situation?
Right. Well, unfortunately, the debt problem in America just kind of keeps getting worse and worse. So when I got out of debt, you're correct that I had $100,000 in credit card debt. And then I wrote my New York Times bestseller about it, Zero Debt, The Ultimate Guide to Financial Freedom. Chris, believe it or not, that book originally came out in 2004 because I took 3 years to pay off my debt from 2001 to 2004. Then I very quickly wrote Zero Debt. It only took me like 60 days, believe it or not, to write that book because it just poured out of me. because I had lived it. And so since then, we did a second edition of Zero Debt, I think in 2010 or 11. Then we did the third edition in like 2018 or 19 of Zero Debt, because like I said, the debt problem just keeps getting worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
So the strategies that I used to get out of debt were manyfold. It was not any one thing. And so what I often tell people who are deep in debt is that you have to attack the problem from, different angles and using different methods. So like one method I used was negotiating a lot with my creditors. So I got all my interest rates lowered to literally to 0% or no more than 4.9%. Some of them were at 2%, 2.9%. But I just picked up the phone and called all my creditors and said, what's the lowest interest rate you can give me? And because I was getting other offers, previously, I had some leverage. And also because I had paid my bills, even though I had all this debt, I didn't miss any payments. So I had negotiating power. So negotiating to get the interest rates lower made it easier for me to pay off the debt, because when I would pay my payments, it was only going towards the principal mostly instead of going towards interest. I also used windfalls. So a windfall is any extra lump sum of money outside of your normal, everyday paycheck. So if I got a tax refund check, if I got holiday gift money, if I got a year-end bonus on the job, things like that, I would take the extra money, so-called extra money, and put it towards the credit card bills. And then, of course, I had to revamp my spending habits, because all of the stuff that I was doing before that was, kind of some of the crazy spending, just charging and just, taking a trip or a vacation or just charging up, clothes or electronics without even thinking about how I was going to pay it off or whether I could afford to pay it in full every single month. I had to cut that out. So I used a lot of strategies, and Zero Debt is written as a 30-day action plan. So it gives people really 31 days so you can jumpstart your finances. And each of those days, with the 31st day of the month being a bonus strategy, I tell people just one step to take to start chipping away and getting themselves out of debt, because that's how you can overcome that challenge. That's how you can overcome what you might think are your limits in terms of making sure that you can push that mountain called debt, out of the way. You got to chip away, one step at a time.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Bryce. I have your book, and it's very, it really gives you such simple, detailed steps that anybody could use to really help their situation. I love the fact that you talk about thinking before you spend, and I think that's one of the challenges that we have. It's just like, oh, I want to get this, but like, okay, can I afford this? Because
Exactly.
if you don't have the money, it's like
or need.
Yeah, or exactly, like, okay, well, I have the money to pay for it now. If I don't, maybe I should hold off.
Exactly. See, we've lost, the art of delayed gratification. We're in a, consumer-driven society with technology and everything fast and everything at our fingertips. So we just want it now. But that's not always good for your wallet.
Right,
So,
exactly. But I basically always like to ask, you know, individuals in particular, you know, someone that just basically, has a 9 to 5 job, you know, how can they attain wealth over time? What steps could they take that could help them to grow their net worth?
that's a great question. And, especially for communities of color, we lag behind. There's obviously a huge wealth gap when you look, for example, at what the typical net worth and wealth is for, say, an African American household versus our white counterparts. White people tend to have about 8 times the wealth or the net worth that than say Black folks do. And your net worth, again, for your audience who's listening, your wealth, it's really just, it's not complicated. Again, it's not rocket science. How do you figure out your net worth? You just take everything that you own and then you subtract everything that you owe, and then the result is your net worth. So everything that you own, those are your assets. Everything that you owe, that's your liabilities. And then the result is how much wealth do you have? How much net worth do you have? So you mentioned before, Chris, that I've written 15 books, and one of them is called The Money Coach's Guide to Your First Million. And I talk to people about wealth building strategies and becoming a millionaire and how you get to the point where you are solidly on that path, you know, building wealth year after year. And there's, again, many strategies, but ownership and having assets, that's one of the biggest keys in terms of wealth building. So when you want to think about what anybody can do, some things like investing. You can invest in the stock market, and you can start, you don't have to have $5,000. You don't even have to have $500. There's ways that you can buy fractional shares, or you can do what's called dollar cost averaging, where you just invest a little bit of money every single month. It might be $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever it is that you can afford. But you start owning equities or stocks. You have ownership in publicly traded companies. You can own mutual funds. You can own something called ETFs, which are exchange traded funds. You can own real estate. You know, Earl and I, as you know, we are big proponents and big believers in real estate. We own 7 properties, and that's part of our net worth. You can own cryptocurrencies. You can own bonds. So the ownership category is one definite way to wealth building. Then there's some other things that, again, everyday folks can do, which is investing in themselves through entrepreneurship. Now, not everybody wants or needs to be a full-time entrepreneur, right? So I own a business, and I've had my company now for 19 years, and it's been going great. But you know what? We're in the so-called gig economy, where a lot of people have a side hustle, a part-time job, something that they're doing that they're getting a 1099 for, 1099 miscellaneous income. They might be a freelancer. I don't care if you're driving for Uber, if you're having a blog or a podcast that you've monetized, if you're writing articles, if you are building websites. You can do work remotely, in person. You can have digital courses that offer your skill set, but it could be a part-time thing. It could be a side hustle, or it could be a full-fledged business that, you know, occupies most of your professional time. But really investing in yourself, owning a business, that's also owning an asset, right? And that is also another great way to build wealth.
Fantastic steps. I always love that when folks say real estate, because it's real. It's real, you know. It's
Right.
real. And when you have that, it really changes your whole outlook on how you see, I guess, yourself and your finances. Because you know, even though you're paying a mortgage, you know, monthly, you know, you're still responsible for that. I guess that 30 days, you know, you are in charge. You know, until the next 30 days, you know, we pay again. But yeah, and also just taking advantage of things that you mentioned, like you know, doing side gigs. If you want to become a entrepreneur, that's awesome. I think it's a wonderful thing to do even part time, because it gives you a sense of ownership, and you know, I guess, responsibility. Like, I have the ability to make as much as I like over time, with my plan. So all of those are just really fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
And on the real estate front, again, um, it can be starting with, trying to own your own home, right? You don't have to have multiple investment properties or become a real estate investor. You can help to build your own net worth with your own house. So obviously, the housing market has been on fire the last couple years, right? And so we moved. Chris, you probably recall Earl and I used to live in New Jersey,
right.
and then we moved in 2019, right before the pandemic. We moved from northern New Jersey, just outside of New York City, to the Houston, Texas area. And we bought, a house that has gained 50% in value now in just 3 years. So it has like 300,000 in additional equity in our house. So
Mhm.
again, that's adding to our net worth. So sometimes again, it can just be, you can just think in your mind like, huh, a house is an asset that yes, I have a mortgage on it. As a person who might say, I want to buy a house, obviously you're going to do your homework and do your research. You want to get the best possible deal, the best loan rates and terms that you can get. You don't want to overextend yourself and buy,
Right.
house that you can't afford or anything like that. But just the idea of building towards having that home as an asset that you ultimately either pay off or build a huge amount of equity in. Again, real estate as a whole is one strategy for wealth building.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I have my own place. It's one of the best decisions that I could have made. Uh, Challenging, yes, but worth it. Yes, 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 yes.
Absolutely, yes.
um, Now, as a money coach, could you share some of your branding? I think you have Money Coach University and a couple others.
Yes. So everybody does call me the money coach, and our um, main business, our parent company, is called the moneycoach.net. That's our LLC. And mostly companies hire us because we're mostly actually B2B. So companies hire us, nonprofit agencies, government agencies, colleges and universities, etc. They hire us for a number of things, sometimes to do financial workshops and uh, webinars, things of that nature. Or now we're going back finally to, getting towards in-person appearances like pre-pandemic. Um, but right now, a lot of it is virtual. But besides those kinds of things, we create content and curriculum. And so we've done that, as well as our consulting, mostly again for the financial services industry on the corporate side, for banks, insurance companies, fintech firms, credit unions, et cetera, who all, of course, want to promote financial literacy to their customers or to their members, sometimes for their own employees. And so we have like Money Coach University, which is our video-based platform where I offer coaching and video-based courses so people can learn from me there. Even if they aren't able to, come to an event that's sponsored by a company or something like that, or even if they're not able to get my one-on-one coaching, they can get that group coaching. We have askthemoneycoach.com, which is our free financial advice site, and it has over 1,600 articles on 26 categories of personal finances, to teach people about all kind of money matters, about student loans, life insurance, home ownership, um, marriage and money, family finances, getting out of debt, improving your credit, investing, a whole bunch of topics. So, the brand, the Money Coach brand kind of spreads around in different ways, but those are our main platforms. And then of course, obviously we're on, all the social media channels as well: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, etc. So we teach through different means, TV commercials, media interviews, all of it.
Yeah, definitely. It sound, you have everything covered from A to Z.
We're trying.
Yeah, just an incredible amount of information that our listeners and viewers can really take advantage of. And I think I don't know if I spoke Bing, but I saw about recently a Asian art block uh spokesperson spokesperson.
Yes.
That's
Yes, I'm
fantastic.
super happy about that partnership um, with H&R Block, really with Spruce Money, which is a financial technology platform that they launched to promote equal access really to the financial industry. So for folks who have been struggling to save money, for example, Spruce is a great resource because it helps people to be able to save and using technology to do so. So it's a combination platform in terms of being a debit card. It's a mobile app that you download free of charge, and a savings account all wrapped into one. Um, and so they give you little nudges and help you to save, reminders to save. They let you take things like your income tax refund check and specify a portion that you want to save. They help you to track your spending to make sure that you're not, going over budget and things of that nature. And they even have things like letting you get your paycheck 2 days early. So you can, if you run out of money and you need access to cash or your own money, your own paycheck, you won't have to say go to a payday lender, that kind of thing. So I'm super happy about that partnership with H&R Block to really share with my audience and now with yours about the benefits of Spruce too.
Oh, thank you again for all your fabulous work that you're giving to our um, population. It's just incredible. I think with all the technology that now is available, there's so many ways that you can help yourself to stay financially, um, I guess, stable, or you can even grow because, the technology and resources and persons like yourself that are just doing fabulous work. So yeah, I thank you again. But Lynnette, during the pandemic, which has been very challenging for a lot of people, um, a lot of people have had to deal with enormous amounts of stress, financially in particular, layoffs, just like I mentioned, stress. They may have to change their plans, like may have had an idea that they want to retire, but they can't pull back because they now can't afford to do that. What three things could they be doing to kind of help their situation?
Well, you're right that the pandemic has been brutal on a lot of folks. I mean, obviously, we've lost so many people who have died. We've seen healthcare problems and disparities, again, frankly, in the healthcare system, where communities of color, low income populations, et cetera, have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. But it's affected all of us in various ways. Just the whole concept of being shut down has been very taxing on a lot of folks, and it's increased, unfortunately, a lot of social isolation. So one of the first things that I would actually recommend in terms of, you asked about 3 steps. It might seem contrary to what people might expect, from a financial expert, but really the first thing I would say is actually prioritize your physical and mental health. And so I strongly believe in the links between health and wealth. And I know that when you're stressed out, even if it's stressed out about money or stressed out about your health or family problems or career or anything else, when you're stressed out, all of that is bad for you mentally, physically. It makes you have more sleepless nights, anxiety, depression. You can't focus on the job. You're not as productive in your work. You can't be as creative. So, one of the pandemic was hard on us too, on my family. We know, unfortunately, people who passed away. My 16-year-old daughter did not like being on lockdown at all and having, almost a year to have, remote schooling. So in 2021, in the fall of 2021, my husband and I, we took a look at ourselves and we said, oh my God, we packed on all this weight during the pandemic. We were getting more unhealthy. This is not good. We have to make a change. So we started prioritizing our physical health. And in 2021, more our mental health, saying we're going to take breaks more. We're going to de-stress. We took, in the summertime, we took about 6 weeks off from vacation and said, we need a mental health break, And again, I'm not saying that everybody needs to go on some long vacation to do it, but whatever it is that you need to do to prioritize your physical and mental health. For us, we did not join a gym or anything like that. We literally just started walking in our neighborhood so much and eating right and cutting out a lot of sodium and sugar. And Chris, I mean, when I tell you, since October, Earl has lost 59 pounds.
Wow.
I lost 50 pounds.
Wow.
And we both feel great. We have a lot of energy, and we feel like it's helped us in our business. And it's helped us to have clarity and focus and the energy to do more and to take on different projects. So I know that was a long-winded way to say the first part of what I was going to say. My tip is really, put yourself and your physical and mental health above chasing a dollar and above the almighty dollar. That health is more important, because honestly, all the money in the world, what good is it if you don't have your health? If you don't have, your mental and emotional centering and sense of well-being. So that would be the first thing I would say. I don't care if you have to start taking, bubble baths once a week, or, doing yoga or meditation or deep breathing exercises. Whatever it is that you can do to give yourself more centering, more peace, more harmony, more, sense of well-being without being so stressed out, because there's a lot going on, So that would be the first thing. Then the second thing, it might, be a little more traditional in terms of what you might expect from a financial expert like myself. And that would be to examine your finances realistically. So a lot of us do totally unrealistic things with our finances. We were talking earlier about debt in this conversation. And I was saying how before I was just charging and I didn't care about, I did not think about like, okay, how am I going to pay this trip that I'm charging? How am I going to pay this off? So when I say examine your finances realistically, for some of us, it means taking time, evaluating what's behind our spending, evaluating why you're spending, evaluating why you've made certain choices. So again, when I evaluated, where we were 3 years ago, I looked and I said, we did have a good life in the Northeast, but I was like, why are we here in the Northeast, which is ridiculously expensive? Honestly, we can go anywhere in the country, and I want to save some money. I want to think long term. I want to think about college for my last child, who was a 13-year-old then, and who's now 16 years old. But ultimately, I was like, wow, wouldn't it be great to live in a lower cost state? You know? So we ultimately made a decision as a family to move. And it was partially, it was largely financially driven. We looked at the lower cost of living, better quality of life, the fact that we could have, outdoors, almost year round and not have to worry about snow and shoveling and, the ice storms and all that stuff. So when I tell people to look at and examine their finances closely and realistically, it involves everything. It's not just like, oh, look at your budget and look at how much you've been spending. Think about your why. Like, why are you doing some things? We just, for example, we had two cars. We just sold one of our cars. It was a brand new car, actually. It was a 2020 vehicle my husband had bought. Again, just a couple years ago, he bought it brand new. I can't even begin to tell you how many problems the car had. Warranty, it was under warranty, but recalls and just different issues. It got hit twice just sitting in front of our front of our house. And once when he was just, parked on the road. So we said, is this car cursed? So since it was in the shop for so long, for months getting repaired, and there's supply chain problems and they didn't have all the, manufacturer parts, we were able to see like, oh, we're able to actually live with one car. We always thought we had to be a two-car family. So we started examining our actions and our practices and our why. And we asked ourselves, why do we have two cars? Like, do we really need it? Like, maybe no, we don't. So we sold it. We sold it right back to the dealer and got money back. So again, I'm giving, just real life examples here to show people, how you can ask these questions of yourself, and you can do it in a way that makes sense and is relevant for your personal circumstances and your situation. Then the third and final thing I would say is get help. Never be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Again, whatever it is that you need, if it's financial advice, if it's health advice, if it's mentoring, if it's somebody to review your resume, never be afraid to ask that question. They say the squeaky wheel, gets the oil. And it's because you have to make yourself and your voice known. And nobody's going to know what your needs are if you're not honest and candid, if you can't open up and ask for it. So don't be ashamed of any money problems or any issues or problems you might have faced. Just be willing to reach out and ask for help. And there's a lot of nonprofit credit counseling agencies that'll help free or at a low cost to give people the help that they need as well.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I think there's a lot of fear. Going back to your third point, a lot of fear and like, I guess, what's the word I'm trying to think of? I don't want to say it, shame. Yeah, shame. They're just like, oh, how did I get into this situation? How can I get out?
Absolutely.
But I think
Exactly.
it's so true. You have to ask for assistance because I I really believe when you ask for it, you'll get even more in return than you expect.
Yep, that is so true. That is absolutely the case. And people do have shame and embarrassment around money issues. I definitely know this to be the case. Obviously, as a money coach, I've talked to so many, hundreds and thousands of people who they just feel like, how could I have gotten myself into this mess? Or they want to take on that little rugged individualism. They're like, I got myself into this mess. I got to get myself out. Or they'll say, I made this bed. I got to lie in it. It's like, no, you don't.
Right.
No, you don't. You can get some help. Somebody else can come in there and help you with that,
Right.
So,
Right. Right. That's so awesome. And I also love the point where you say, you gotta take care of your physical and mental health. And I think definitely during this pandemic that has been I think even when you think you're okay, sometimes you're not. And I think we have to
right.
balance that and we really have to, like you said, work on ourselves and take the time, whatever we have to do, and just take a break and just focus, reassess, and restart, renew.
Absolutely. Therapy, I think a lot of people should have therapy. My husband was saying the other day, he said, I think everybody should have therapy. Like everybody should have therapy. And I was like, you are so right. I think this world will be a better place because what is therapy? It's being able to talk to somebody and to talk
Yes.
out issues. That's really all it is. So we need to destigmatize that for folks who think like, oh, if I go get help from somebody, if it's mental health or just anything else,
Yep. Yep.
that is something's wrong with me. No, you need somebody to talk about these issues.
Hmm.
And it's not there's nothing to be ashamed of,
Right.
so
You don't have to go at it alone. You know, that is
that's
so
right.
so true. But with all your success as a personal finance expert, author, speaker, what continues to motivate you? What continues to motivate you?
Well, I guess at this point, a lot of what I do is legacy driven. Obviously, I have three kids, so they're 24, 22, and 16 years old right now. And a big part of what Earl and I have built in terms of our brand and our business, we think about our kids. We think about their kids to come. None of them have kids right now, but my oldest daughter, she is married, and whenever they do have kids, the Bible says that a wise person, a wise man, meaning a wise person, does think about their children's children. Um, and so we think about inheritance, we think about legacy building and wealth building in ways that are impactful and meaningful. So definitely my family, my offspring, and the idea of legacy building still drives me and motivates me a lot. I still get excited to be able to share what I call kind of the gospel of personal finances with everyday folks as well. Sometimes I talk to millennial financial experts or even Gen Z who are just early, kind of up and coming. And sometimes they're uh, disaffected or I'll say maybe burnt out, or they don't see a longer term vision. They're like, okay, well, I've talked to people about saving money, 7 different ways. There's nothing more I can say or add to the conversation. Everybody's talked about saving money. And I'm thinking, you guys need to learn about longevity, okay? Because if you have a passion for what you do, somebody like me, I've been doing this 19 years and I'm still excited about it. It's about carrying the message in different ways. It's about, we still have to tell people to save money, but you got to think of a creative way to get through to their head, to tell a story, to use an example, to give them a tool, to tell them about an app, to talk about technology, whatever it is that would resonate to get people to change the behavior.
Right.
So because we have a constant need to educate folks and then to get behavioral change as well. So I'm excited, motivated, inspired to do what I do every day because I think I could be changing lives. And if it's one person, it could be one person who's listening to your show, Chris, who's saying, wow, I really got something great out of, hearing Lynnette's message. And now I'm going to think about asset building. I'm going to think about building my net worth. Or, maybe I should think about a side hustle. Or I'm going to, start chipping away at my debt. And I'm going to use some of the strategies she mentioned. Whatever it is, I might have just changed one person's life. They might think, oh, let me go download Spruce and start saving more money, whatever the case might be.
Right.
Again, all of that is inspiring and motivational to me.
And we're so grateful for you and for all you've done, all that you're gonna continue to do. I know it's just gonna grow and grow because your spirit, just your enthusiasm and you just genuine love for assisting others is just so incredible. And we're so blessed to have you doing this. But how can our audience find out more about you and how you could, more about your services and how you can help them?
Sure. I would definitely point people to askthemoneycoach.com. Again, that's our free financial advice site. And I think that's the best place for your audience to go. From there, they'll see our other things through Money Coach University. And, if anybody's thinking about coaching or something else, that's fine as well. But really, whatever questions they have or whatever topics of interest that they might want to learn more about, askthemoneycoach.com is probably going to be the best resource for them. people who want to know about me personally and learn kind of a little bit more about my own story, my wonderful husband, Earl, he does some of everything. And he actually built a phenomenal, I think it is, if I do say so myself, to give my hubby his props. He built my own personal website, which is my name, which is LynnetteKhalfaniCox.com. Again, Lynnette with 2 T's and 2 N's, so Lynnette, and then Khalfani, KhalfaniCox.com. And it'll share more about me, talks about me as a mom, as an investor, as an entrepreneur, etc. So it just shows a little bit of the different hats that I wear, and kind of what we do together, really, what Earl and I do together.
Yeah, I was on your site. Me and Earl have had conversations. He's just a great guy, great guy. And just so happy to see what you guys are doing together, to help others. It's really amazing. And Lynnette, really like to thank you all for joining us today on the Overcoming Challenges in the 4 Phases of Life interview series. You're just an incredible person. And we thank you again.
You're so very welcome. It was my pleasure to join you, and I'm going to be always rooting for you, Chris, as you know, and wishing you continued success in all that you do.
Oh, thank you, Lynnette. You have a wonderful day, and thank you again.
Take care now.
Okay.